Hello, everyone. Welcome to you wherever you are joining from. I want to be sure whether you can hear me loud and clear. So I would like to welcome us, especially to the day one of the poultry production masterclass. Just to be sure you can hear me and you can see this slide, I would like to get a response from us.
Hello, I can hear you. I can see the slide.
Thank you so much. Mr. Deji says, hearing loud and clear. Thank you so much. Okay, I would like to be sure we all see this slide and we can all hear me loud and clear. Mrs. Rose, can you hear me loud and clear? And can you see this slide? Mr. Williams, can you see this slide and can you hear me? Mr. Francis, Mrs. Agnes, who again? Mrs. Abigail, can you see this slide and can you hear me loud and clear? Oh, fantastic. Awesome, awesome, awesome,
Yes.
awesome. Okay, okay. So without wasting much time, okay, thank you. Thank you for the feedback. Thank you. Without wasting much time.
Yes, thank you. I can hear you.
Okay, great, great, great. So we have about 19 of us in class. I think we are good to go. Since this training is recorded, anyone who missed the training can easily watch it over and over again. So without wasting much time, let us go right into it. Once again, I want to welcome you especially to the day one of the Poultry Production Masterclass. My name is Innocent, and I will be your facilitator for today's session. Just to let you know that this training is recorded, and if you cannot join the live training, you can always, watch what we discussed previously. So without wasting much time, let us go right into it. Just to remind you that when you are not speaking, kindly mute your mic so that we can have a very nice session together. Secondly, if you have any question, you can always drop it in the chat box and we'll be able to respond. Or you can, just raise your hand and I will be able to ask you to speak so that we don't interrupt the class. So without wasting much time, I would like to warmly welcome you to today's session. And without wasting much time, let me go right into what we have for today. So I would like to introduce myself. I am one of the team members at Poultry Care, and I solve poultry-related problems. I consult for government, large farms on commercial poultry farming. I also work with farmers, hatcheries, processors, and feed producers and laboratories. I have experience both in Nigeria and outside Nigeria, and I'm going to use my experience to facilitate this training. Before moving on, I would like to thank the management for giving me this opportunity to facilitate this training. And I can't wait to really share my experiences with us and also be part of your success story. So once again, I want to welcome you to today's class. Just to let you know that I work with so many small-scale poultry farmers and large-scale poultry farmers, and have trained more than 10,000 poultry farmers, and I've attended more than 60 poultry workshops physically and virtually across the world. I am passionate about protein production, and I dedicate myself and my career on this. And I'm going to share everything that I've learned over the years in this training. So this training is not just about, what is it called? It's not about theory. No, I'm going to share on field experiences with us. And that is the most important thing that actually sets our training apart from the rest of other trainings out there. So without wasting much time, I would like to carry out sound check again. Someone says he can't hear anything. Please, is this a general something? I would like to get response from us. Okay, Mr. Alexis, I can hear you. Please, I would like to get more response so that I don't waste my time and your time. Okay,
I can
Mr.
hear you loud
Bridges.
and clear.
Okay, great. So that means, okay, thank you for the response. So that means if you're having issue hearing me, it could be your network. Okay, so the poultry production masterclass, what will you gain for being part of this training? What will you gain for being part of this training? Basically, this training is all about teaching you how to raise commercial poultry production, how to start a commercial poultry farm. And so basically, this is what we are going to cover in this training. So because you are part of this training, you're not going to fail in commercial poultry production. Why? Because you will receive the comprehensive knowledge on how to start, run, and grow a successful poultry farm anywhere you are around the world. Secondly, you'll be part of a family dedicated to your success. You will also receive free consultancy services and continuous lifetime mentorship from Poultry Care. So everybody at Poultry Care, we are going to team up to ensure that your success is guaranteed. So the group you are in right now, please do not exit the group because we are going to share a lot of vital information in the group, and the group will be the major source we are going to follow up with you. And also the group will be one of the sources you can reach out to us. Imagine you want to ask questions or you have something you want to do and you don't know how to do it. You can always leave a message in the group and someone will definitely attend to you. So what are the add-ons you are going to get? For being part of this training, you are going to have what we call bill of quantity. Imagine you want to have a poultry farm. You're just starting out, or you want to expand your poultry farm. You want to know the financial implication of the project. So if you want to know the financial implication of your project, we are going to carry out a comprehensive estimation for you. So a bill of quantity will be prepared for you free of charge. We're also going to share poultry farm record software with you so that you can automatically calculate, let's say, the profits, or let's say the number of eggs you're going to expect, or the feed requirement for a given number of birds. So we are going to share bill of quantity with you and the poultry farm record software, as well as the template that you can print out, or you can use your personal computer to install and start using. This training is actually robust. So we are going to spend about 4 days together between now and 20th of this month. So these are the things we are going to cover. We are going to cover the poultry niches. We are going to cover egg production and how you can market the eggs. We are going to cover egg production problems and solutions. We are going to cover broiler production and marketing. We are also going to cover chicken processing and packaging. We are also going to cover broiler management and success secret. What are the success secrets? Feeding technique and feed rations. What are the feeding techniques when it comes to egg production and when it comes to broiler production? What are the feeding techniques? Common broiler health issues and solutions. Of course, you're going to have one issue or the other. So how do you solve these problems? So you're going to learn how to solve the broiler health issues, and then the broiler solutions, what we do, and the medication we give when we have a particular issue or the other. Then you're going to learn about poultry production maths and poultry accounting. Poultry production maths is actually an interesting part of the training where you can learn the skills required to calculate so many things when it comes to your bird's performance. You're also going to learn about farm water and water treatment. You're also going to learn about breed selection and brooding. You're also going to learn about poultry pen house design and construction guide. Say, for example, you want to construct your own pen house, we are going to guide you on how you can construct one yourself. We are also going to show you the hidden losses in poultry production. We are also going to expose you to chicks brooding and how to achieve less than 2% mortality rate during brooding. We are also going to teach you farm staff management. How do you manage the staff? Because this is one of the major reasons why most poultry farms in Africa collapse. Poor farm management and bad staff are actually responsible for close down of majority of poultry farms in Africa. So you are going to learn about farm staffing and management. We are also going to teach you how to manage heat stress. And of course, you would agree with me that we are in sub-Saharan Africa, or Africa as a whole it's a very hot region compared to the West. So we usually have issue with heat stress. So how do you manage the heat stress when it comes? You're going to learn this and other aspect of commercial poultry farming. You're also going to learn how to maintain stable egg production and what to do when production is low. You're also going to learn about poultry farm branding, then the ultimate poultry health. How do you manage your birds in terms of the health aspect? So you're going to learn the various vaccination techniques, and you're going to be exposed to the common poultry diseases and how to spot them and how to treat them. Then we are also going to expose you to the drugs we use in commercial poultry farming and how you can use these drugs and how you can also calculate the dosage. As we move on, you are going to know more about this. Once again, I want to welcome you to today's Poultry Production Masterclass. For those of us joining, I would like to repeat myself. My name is Innocent, and I am super happy to have you in class today. What I do every day is solve poultry-related problems. I am one of the poultry team members, poultry care team members. And what I do basically is coordinate activities and also help solve poultry farmers' problems. And as we move on, I believe strongly that we are going to have an amazing time together. I also work with large-scale farmers and small-scale farmers. I also consult for government, and I also train farmers on new poultry farming technique. And I believe that this training is going to really benefit you a lot because I'm going to share my experiences both in Nigeria and outside Africa. So what do you stand to gain by being part of this training? You are going to learn how to raise broiler production. You're also going to learn how to raise layers, and you're also going to learn how to raise turkey. Then we're going to go into deeper aspect of commercial poultry farming from the basic to the advanced level. So if you're part of this training, you can now fail in commercial poultry farming because you are going to receive comprehensive knowledge on how to start, run, and grow a successful poultry farm anywhere you are around the world. You're also going to be part of a family dedicated to your poultry success. You're also going to receive free consultancy services and continuous mentorship. So it's going to be an amazing benefit to you for being part of this training. Some of the add-ons you are going to benefit by being part of this training are the bill of quantity. For example, you want to start your poultry farm and you don't really have idea of how much it's going to cost you. We're going to give you this. We are also going to give you poultry farm record software or the template that you can use to carry out proper accounting or to carry out cost estimate and to know the number of or quantity of feed to serve. As we move on, I strongly believe that you're going to understand the importance of this training. I won't repeat myself over this again. So day one, what we are going to focus today, we are going to focus majorly on four things. We are going to introduce you to poultry farming and business niches. For example, you can't just say, oh, I want to go into egg production. Of course, you can specialize in one, but there are other aspects of commercial poultry farming that you can actually explore. We're now also going to teach you how to raise boards. We are going to expose you to the business aspect of commercial poultry farming or poultry industry. We are also going to show you how you can start poultry farming and why you should start poultry farming. Then we are going to show you layers and broiler brooding, the new approach. How do we raise chickens from day old to adult level? As we move on, you are going to see all of this. So why you should start commercial poultry farming? Commercial poultry farming is an amazing and lucrative poultry business or amazing agribusiness. It's highly lucrative, especially when you manage it well. I can tell you this because I've been in this industry for a very long time, both in Nigeria and outside Africa. I can tell you, with confidence that commercial poultry farming is highly lucrative, especially when managed well. So poultry farming, why you should go into poultry farming? Because there's a market for it. You don't need to do rigorous marketing when it comes to commercial poultry farming, or when it comes to poultry product, the eggs, the chicken, there's market for it. So it makes it super easy for you to sell your products. Another reason why you should start commercial poultry farming is because the industry is underserved. It's not just about raising chickens. There are other aspects of commercial industry. You can actually, commercial poultry industry, you can specialize in. As we move on, you're going to see why I said the industry is underserved. People cannot do without chickens and eggs. You can start at any level and scale up. You can start with 200 or 500 and scale up. We have clients who started just with 200 and today they have about 30,000 birds on their farm. That is the remarkable, benefit of commercial poultry farming, especially when you manage the farm very well. You can start at any level and scale up really, really fast. Then
you're encouraging it to semi-enable, you're encouraging it to, I don't think people have to be selected to lead those projects. Like for me now, I can't do anything in an enable study that is not related to.
I'm sorry for that. I think one of us, was making a call. So as I was saying, chicken is a lucrative business, and I highly recommend it. Another good thing about chicken is that it has no cultural or religion taboo. There's nothing like that. Other agribusiness like pig or snail or something, some religion, they actually forbid it. So commercial poultry farming or chicken, there's no, taboo when it comes to the product. People eat the chickens, they eat the eggs, and they also use the droppings to fertilize their crops. So poultry farming is an amazing niche. Another good thing I like about commercial poultry farming is that it's a two-in-one investment. So you can decide to buy land, like for example, you can buy land and just start a poultry farm. Maybe development comes to that place and you have to leave. What happens to the land? The land must have appreciated, and then you can sell the land at a high rate. So we have about 2 clients that actually, experienced this, I think 5 years ago. I can't really remember the exact year again. Development came to their place and they had to leave because it's not good to have large-scale poultry farming in a residential area. So when development came to that place, they had to leave that particular spot. And they sold that place. That place actually is a lucrative area because development came to that place. So they bought that land, according to our client, he bought that land about 50,000 naira per plot. That is about, let's say $25, then. And now he sold that land, running into millions, 100 millions based on, what he shared with me. So poultry farming is a two-in-one investment. When you buy land now and you start your poultry farm, in the next 20 years, if you decide not to do poultry farming again, you can sell the land and you will make a lot of money. So poultry farming is a two-in-one investment. There is nothing that we call waste when it comes to poultry farming. Nothing is a waste. So the feathers outside Nigeria, the feathers, they use it, for pillow production. And then if your farm is around, farmers, crop farmers, you can sell the manure. You can earn millions from just the manure alone. The chicken and the eggs are good source of protein, and there's a massive demand for chicken product across the world. So poultry farming is an amazing agribusiness you can start. Then I love poultry farming for one thing, because I am an investment expert, poultry investment expert. I carry out calculations a lot, so I can tell you this with confidence. When it comes to commercial poultry farming, it has fast payback period. So for example, you invest, let's say 20 million into your farm to start a poultry farm, or let's say 40 million to start a poultry farm, or let's say $40,000 to start a poultry farm. Within 2 production cycles maximum, if you run your poultry well, you will recoup the money completely and even have extra. That is the good thing about commercial poultry farming. Now, if you can't do that with some investment, let's say, for example, you use the same money to maybe build some properties for, let's say, residential properties and so on. Trust me, you cannot recoup that money within 4 years. It can take you even 15 years or 20 years to recoup the money back. But that is not the case with commercial poultry farming. Within a short period of time, you get your payback period, or you get your initial investment back. So I really love poultry farming for this reason. Now, Dr. Adesina, the president of Africa Development Bank, says something. He said by 2030, the size of the food and agribusiness in Africa will reach $1 trillion. And so he said that if you are thinking of how to make money in Africa, for example, that is the sector to be in. And I'm saying that as the population is growing, if you want to really make money in agribusiness, you should think of investing in commercial poultry farming, because people cannot do without chickens and the eggs. Even if the economy of your country is really, really poor, people must find a way to eat chickens. When you walk around your street or when you go to your city, you will see fast food restaurants. Poultry farms are the people, or are the source of the major food they serve there. The chickens they serve there, the eggs, and so on. They are actually, relying on poultry farmers to be able to sustain that industry. The bakery industry cannot actually survive without the use of egg. So poultry farming is a good niche, and it's a good agribusiness niche or agribusiness I highly recommend. Now I would like to show us something. I was drawn to this, and this was sent to me. So I would like to show you what somebody wrote today. When we updated the day-old chicks price today, and someone wrote this. Someone commented, poultry business is becoming unattractive by the day. And this fellow responded by saying, all you need is a know-how. My friend in Jaws makes 4 million monthly selling eggs from our farm. The 4 million, especially for those of us who are not in Nigeria, the 4 million is around, let's say $3,000 or $3,500. So it's roughly around that, region. So she said, the 4 million is after deducting all our expenses. So what does that mean? She said the net profit. So she makes a net profit of 4 million every month from our farm. That is our friend's farm. She said the money they make from selling the chicken waste manure is what our family use in feeding and paying our children's school fees. And that is the reality of commercial poultry farming. So I really like what the lady said. She said something, all you need is the know-how. And that is the reason why you are here. You are here to learn the know-how, and you are here to get the necessary support. If anything happens, you have people, you are part of a family that will guide you. We are going to guide you the right way. And so if you fail, then you will blame yourself, because we're going to give you everything you need to succeed. So I just, want to show us this just to buttress my point concerning commercial poultry farming. These are total strangers that we do not know, and these are their feedbacks. So it all depends on how you see it, and it all depends on how you manage your poultry farm. People are cashing out. We are cashing out. So, but when we are telling people, they say, come on, poultry farming is not like the way it was before. Of course, it's not like the way it was. The feed is high and so on, but that actually cut across all the industry. The amount you use to buy bread, for example, a year ago or some months ago, it's not the same. We used to buy bread 250. Right now, it's about 2,000 or 1,500. So everything has increased. And so you can't just say, oh, poultry feed has increased, but the reason poultry farming is not lucrative again. No, that is not true. It's just that the startup cost has actually increased. As we move on, you are going to learn more about how you can actually raise chicken professionally and not have issue. So these are the poultry niches that you can start. Today, we are setting the foundation. So we are exposing you to the foundation of commercial poultry farming and the poultry niches you can start. Remember, I told you that it's not just poultry industry, it's not just about raising broilers for meat and then raising layers for egg production. You can do other things. There are so many people which I consult for that they're not even raising chickens. They are doing other aspects of commercial poultry farming or playing their game in another aspect in the industry. So as we move on, you're going to see some of the niches you can actually try in your country. So you're going to learn about egg production, you're going to learn about broiler production, chicken processing. As we move on, you're going to see this. So let me not waste our time. The first poultry niche I want to introduce you to is the production of day-old chicks. Anywhere you are around the world, you can start the production of day-old chicks. So all you need to do is to get the fertilized eggs. And how do you get the fertilized egg? You can decide to buy directly from people who have fertilized eggs, that is people who stock parent stock. Or you can decide to import the eggs and start hatching and sell to farmers in your country. You can also decide to have the parent stock. We call it parent stock or breeder. If you have breeder, then you can be able to collect the eggs and then use your incubator to incubate and then hatch the eggs. And once you hatch, you can now sell. And so this niche is highly, highly lucrative. It's highly, highly lucrative. As we move on, you're going to see other poultry niches you can start. So day-old cheese production is actually cool, and I highly recommend it if you are serious and you have passion for this poultry niche. You can decide to go into feed milling. Feed milling is an amazing poultry niche you can start. Some people, they are not into egg production or broiler production. This is what they specialize in. I consult for New Hope, and I was one of the consultants that carried out the feasibility study when they came to Nigeria. So New Hope is an Asian company and they are into animal nutrition. So that is what they are interested in, and that is what they actually focus on. So in Asia, they have, in fact, they have the largest share when it comes to animal nutrition. So they came to Nigeria or they came to Africa and they were looking for the country to invest in, and they choose Nigeria because of the population and because of the industry that is highly developed. So they came to Nigeria to just invest in the feed milling aspect of the industry. So you can decide to start commercial poultry feed milling and you will definitely make your money. So if you intend to go into this niche, you can always get across to us and we will be able to guide you. Moving on to poultry, another poultry niche you can start irrespective of your country. You can decide to go into the production of poultry farming equipment and poultry farming inputs such as battery cages and other equipment. You can also decide to import them into your country and then install for farmers. You can also decide to sell what we use to produce poultry feed, like premix, the calcium phosphate, limestone, maize, wheat offer, and other ingredient we use in commercial poultry farming. You can decide to, sell, all these things. And trust me, you also make a decent profit. You can decide to go into point of lay production. You can decide to raise the birds, layers, what we call pullets. Some farmers, they cannot wait for 6 months or 5 months before they see the first eggs. So one of the fastest way to start seeing revenue from your farm is by buying points of lay. And so some farmers, they buy points of lay. In fact, we have big farms, 20,000, 10,000 capacity that we stock every now and then with our points of lay. So you can decide to go into this niche. You can decide to focus, on this niche, and trust me, you make amazing profit, but the profit margin is actually low. So if you advise me, this niche for now is not really, really lucrative. But I don't know your country. You can try it in your country and see. But the niche, the profit margin is actually low. Moving on to one of the niches we are all interested in, broiler production. So you can decide to focus, or you can decide to focus on this niche, broiler production. So broiler farming is mainly for meat production. If you are interested in egg production, you don't need to have this unless you are interested in both meat production and egg production. So you can decide to start this. It's a very, very lucrative business, and I like it for one thing. You know your fate within 6 weeks. That is to say, whether you make profit or it's a loss, you will know automatically within 6 weeks or maximum 8 weeks. Moving on to one of the popular niches that most of us are interested in, which is layers farming. Layers farming is when you are interested in egg production. Layer farming is for people who are just interested in egg production. So if you are interested in egg production, you can go into this. It's an amazing niche. It's a lucrative, highly, highly lucrative business. And I recommend it if you have passion for it and you are interested in it. You can decide to, raise your chickens or go into egg production using the battery cage housing system, or you use deep litter housing system. As we move on, you're going to see how to manage layers professionally and the way we do it outside Nigeria. You can decide to go into chicken processing and packaging. This is really, really, really lucrative business that people do not know. It's highly lucrative, and you don't need to actually have a broiler farm. For example, you don't need to have a broiler farm to go into chicken processing. You can buy from broiler farmers and process and then distribute to fast food restaurant, supermarkets, or caterers. You can actually, process the chickens and then distribute to them. So this is highly lucrative business, and you can decide to combine two. If you have broiler, a farm, large scale broiler farm, you're supposed to process your chickens because that is where the profit is. When you process your chicken, you make more money. Honestly, this is a very juicy business, especially if you raise the chickens, process and package and distribute. We are going to touch, or we are going to go into how to process your chicken as we move on in this training. Chicken processing, we are going to cover it in details, how you can process your chicken and the equipment you need. Moving on to another niche you can actually specialize in, some poultry farmers or some people, they are not interested in owning a poultry farm, but they are interested in selling the eggs. Or some egg producers, they started off by selling eggs. So you can decide to be an egg distributor, and you can make up to $1, or I say $1, $1,000 every month, even more. It depends on the number of customers you have. You can decide to start this business at any time and at any level. You can decide to be selling 50 crates every week, especially for people that are just, just need something to keep them going. You can we're selling, 50 crates every week or 100 crates or 1,000 crates every week. So how do you go about this? You just go to poultry farms. You look for egg producing farmers and then talk to them to give you eggs. Most times they disappoint, farmers disappoint because they can't meet the demand of eggs. So most times supply, you may be limited because you may not get the kind of supply you need. So this is a good business you can start. But if you have good, relationship with poultry farmers, you can have up to 2,000 crates every week, and you can distribute to fast food restaurant, hotels, supermarkets, and even street egg sellers, people that sell eggs, around your neighborhood. You can distribute to them and you can make profit. For example, you can make profit of about 200 or 300 naira per crate. That is about, let's say, 10 cents or 20 cents or 15 cents per crate. So do the math. For example, if you can supply to people, let's say 1,000 crates per week, for example, automatically, if your profit margin is 200, that is about 200,000 within a week. Then multiplied by 4, that is about 800,000. Some jobs in Nigeria cannot pay you 800,000, which is about, let's say, $500 or so. So some jobs cannot pay you this, and you can do this and you will make money. So you can become an egg distributor in your country. It's a good business. You can even export it. So just to show you the businesses you can do, the summary is this: the poultry value chain is long enough to have your own share. You can play your game in more than one niche. In fact, you can combine everything. You can decide to, mill your feed and also sell. You can decide to, have egg production and broiler production. You can decide to hatch eggs and sell day-old chicks. You can decide to be a feed distributor. Another thing I want to chip in is feed distributorship. For example, in your area, if you are looking for a particular feed brand and they don't sell that feed brand, it's an indication that you should start selling that feed brand. And you can become an feed distributor in your area and you will make a lot of money. And I can tell you this because I've guided a lot of people into this business. And today they are thanking me and they are really, really happy because they are making a living out of it. So commercial poultry farming has a long chain. So it depends on where you want to play your game, but I'm sure most of us, we are interested in broiler production and layers farming, which is egg production. And of course, that is what we are going to, focus on as we move on. Just to be sure we can hear me loud and clear, I would like to carry out sound check. Can we see the slide and can we hear me? Because someone complained that the audio is not good enough.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, great. Mr. Deji says, can see me and can hear me. Okay, thank you.
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
We can hear you.
Okay, awesome.
We can hear you.
Awesome. Okay, so to move on, I would like to introduce us to the poultry language because most of us, we do not have poultry knowledge prior to this time. So I don't want to be dumping poultry terms on you. So I'm going to, introduce you to some of the terms I'm going to use often in the nest for this. So broiler parent stock, what do we call parent stock? Parent stock or breeder are special chickens whose job is to provide us with fertilized eggs. We do not use these eggs to fertilize or to hatch. We don't hatch these eggs. These table eggs you are seeing, we call them table eggs. We don't fertilize, we don't hatch them rather. We don't hatch them. Reason being that they are not fertilized. Why are they not fertilized? There is no male, in the in the pen house with them. For example, as you can see, the layers you are seeing here, they are all females. And so there is no mating. Since there's no mating, it's not possible for the eggs to be fertilized. Secondly, the chickens, they are genetically wired to lay eggs only, to lay table eggs, not to lay fertilized eggs. So even if you crossbreed them, their eggs are not that good. So we don't use them at all. We don't use them at all for, hashing. So I highly recommend that you know this. Can we see my slide, please?
Yes, your slide says egg production.
Can we see my slide, please?
Yes, I can see a production.
Yes,
Yes.
very clearly. Egg production with chickens.
Okay. Okay, I'm sorry for that interruption. I connected the system to a direct call, so someone was calling and that actually interrupted me. So sorry about that. So as I was saying, you can okay, so I was here. Can we see this slide, please? I would like to confirm if we can see this slide.
Yes, we can see it.
Okay, awesome. So since most of us we do not have poultry knowledge, I would like to touch on some of these times we use in commercial poultry farming. So if you can see this slide very well, you see the label layers parent stock. So layers parent stock, these are the chickens we use to produce pullets. So the eggs coming from this farm, we hash them, and the product of the hashing will give us the pullet. And when it comes to your broilers, these are the parent stock. The parent stock, they are special, chicken breed, whose job is to provide us with fertilized eggs. As I was saying before, you can use your birds which you raise in the battery cage to produce another one. They will not do well. Secondly, some of the eggs will not fertilize and they won't even hatch. So we use eggs from these two parent stock to produce chicks for meat production and pullet for egg production. Moving on to brooder, I'm going to use brooder. Brooder is just any place suitable for caring for your chicks until they have enough feather to regulate their own body temperature. The pen house is usually covered with tarpaulin just to conserve the heat. You can also install eating sources such as, let's say brooder gas. You can even use burner. You can use charcoal pot. As we move on, you're going to see some of this equipment that we use. So this is a brooder. A brooder is typically like this. You're going to cover it just to conserve the heat, just like this is going to be airtight so that, the heat will not escape. then it will be able to warm your chicks. So this is what we do. Then I'm going to use barn and pen as we move on. Barn simply means a house for animals, especially for poultry. So if I say pen house or barn, it means the same. In America, they use barn a lot, and in British regions, they use pen. And so because Nigeria was colonized by Britain, we use pen a lot. So pen is simply a house for poultry. And then a layer. What is a layer? As you can see, this is what we call layer. A female chicken whose job is to lay eggs. And at peak production, one hen we produce we produce one egg in 26 hours. So, and they will do this up to let's say 1.5 years. However, that 26 hours will be reducing or will be increasing as they are aging. Instead of laying one egg in 26 hours, as they are aging, especially after 60 weeks old, they will take about 30 hours or even 40 hours to lay one egg. So just to let you know that this is what we call layers. Then broilers are usually meat birds. We refer to birds or chickens that we keep for meat purpose. We call them broilers. And broilers are usually in white color. So as you can see on this slide, this is what we call broilers. As we move on, you're going to see more of them. Moving on to the one on the right, pullet. We call female chickens, especially the newly hatched ones and the ones that have not commenced egg production, we call them pullets. For example, you want to buy day-old chicks. Instead of you saying, I want to buy day-old chicks, and then let's say your supplier in your country will ask you, day-old chicks, which of the day-old chicks? They're going to ask you something like that. If you tell the person, I need pullet, automatically the person understands what you are saying. So of course we call them both broilers and the broiler chicks and the layer chicks, we call them chicks. However, if you want to really differentiate what you want to buy, you can use pullet, and the supplier we automatically understand that you are referring to baby female chicks. Moving on to what we call point of lay. So I'm going to use point of lay in this training. So point of lay are just chickens that are mature enough to be transferred into the cage or that are about to start egg production. As you can see, the point of lay are just chickens that are around 16 to 18. So any chicken around that age, we call them point of lay because at that age, they are at the point of laying eggs. Then we also call chickens that are about to be transferred into the cage or that are matured enough to be transferred into the cage as point of cage, as the name suggests. So point of cage are just female chickens that are old enough to be transferred to adult battery cage. So if you are starting your poultry farm, you're going to have two pen houses. One is for breeding and the growing period. And once they clock 14 weeks old or 16 weeks old, they are, mature enough to be able to stay inside real battery cage for adult layers. You can now transfer them. So any chickens that is mature, especially female chickens that are matured enough to be transferred into the adult battery cage, we call them point of cage. Then I'm going to use cockerel as well. Cockerel, they are purely male chickens. Cockerel are the product of female sexing. So when we hatch day-old chicks, pullet, when we hatch pullet, we are going to see females and males. We carry out what we call sexing. We separate the males from the females. So you are going to get this product. So our major aim is to get the females, the one you are seeing. this one, the pullet. Our major aim is to do what? Is to get the pullets out. So during sexing, we retrieve the female pullet and then we sell this one as well, which is the male. The male is a byproduct. So we don't sell it at higher rate. In fact, back then, you just give it to the communities to just come and take because it has no value to us. But right now, of course, nothing is waste, so it's being sold outside Nigeria. Based on my experience, these kind of chickens, they just kill them, the males. They just kill them because nobody is keeping them because they take a long time to reach market weight. So for that reason, they just incinerate them. However, in Nigeria, in Africa, it's not so. They are sold. And if they are selling, for example, one pullet 850 naira, this one goes for just 70 naira or 100 naira. As you can see, it's just like giveaway price. So it's a byproduct, and you can also decide to keep cockerel. People keep cockerel for festivity or for people who are interested in cockerel. Of course, people are interested in male chickens. So you can decide to keep them. However, they take a longer time to grow. And most times the profit margin is actually low, so it's not encouraging. But it all depends on what you are interested in. Moving on to battery cage. Battery cage is just a multi-step wire equipment with small compartments. So this is what we call battery cage. Most poultry farmers or new farmers, they assume that battery cage is just the house, everything. No, battery cage is just more or less like um, equipment, just equipment you put inside the house. You can't just have battery cage alone. You need to have a shade. So battery cage, what it does is that it helps you to manage the farm or to manage your birds effectively. It also helps you to maximize the space you have. And it's actually a good housing system, especially in Africa. So battery cage is just a compartment or a multi-step wire equipment with small compartment, which has feeders, nipples, and egg basket, as you can see. So the chickens, they take their water from this system. They also take their feed from there. They also lay their eggs, and once they lay eggs, the eggs will roll down into the egg basket. And anytime you are ready to pick the eggs, you can pick the eggs. So that is one good thing about this cage housing system. Moving on to what pullet eats or what layers eat, the female chickens, what do they eat? Imagine you go to a feed store and you want to buy feed for your layers, especially when they commence egg production. The kind of feed we give to layers that have commenced egg production, we call that kind of feed layer ration. It can be layer mash, it can be pellet, it can be crumble, but generally we call it layer ration, or you can call it layer mash. And the best form to present your feed to laying birds is actually in mash and not in pellet or crumble. Moving on to the feed we give to broilers, we give them what we call broiler starter and broiler finisher. I'm not going to really dwell on this. As you can see, we're going to cover this in details when we reach the management aspect. So poultry farming entrance blueprints. How do you start poultry farming? We have established the fact that poultry farming is lucrative, and also, show you the niches that you can actually specialize in or you can combine. Now, how do you start your farm? To start your poultry farm, you need to carry out market research. What do you want to do? For example, what do you want to do? Do you want to go into egg production? If you are going into egg production, you need to carry out market research. What kind of eggs do people need in your area? Is it white eggs or brown eggs? For example, if you keep chickens that lay white eggs, white color, shell eggs, nobody is going to buy from you. Of course, people will buy, but the sales will be so low because people are not used to white eggs and they attach some stuff to it. So if you sell white eggs in Nigeria, I'm sorry, you will not be able to sell the way others are selling. So market research is so important. Know what people around your area are doing and what they want, and then produce based on what they want. You need to ask yourself, how can you reach them? What are the complaints of customers about existing poultry farmers? Maybe some egg distributors, they have problem with inconsistency in supply. So you can decide to have a farm in such a way that you have consistent egg production. So it's not that, oh, you raise chickens for like 2.5 years or 1.5 years, then you wait for 3 months or 5 months before another set of chickens start egg production. So you want to have consistent egg so that you don't lose your customers. So these are some of the things you can do. I don't want to waste my time on this. The second thing you need to do is to choose a farm location. Where do you want to locate the farm? If you want to have a farm, you need to consider the market, the road. Is it easily accessible? The farm input, can you easily get farming input around that place? But that is not even an important consideration, the farming input. You can decide to get it from a far distance. That is not an issue. But the most important thing is the market. For example, if you site your poultry farm in a place where the per capita income is low, they may not be able to buy the eggs the way you want to sell or your broilers the way you want to sell. So you have to move them to a city before you can sell them. So you have to factor that in when you are considering a location. Then security, is there security in that place? You don't want to site your poultry farm where there is banditry or there is kidnapping or there's conflict all the time. You don't want to have your poultry farm in that kind of place. Even if they gift you the land, you don't want to have a poultry farm around that place. I always advise people to site their poultry farm close to a city. For example, you can decide to site a poultry farm close to a city so that it can easily move the product to cities, because cities, these are the places where people with money are residing. And you can buy land at remote villages, have your farm there, then evacuate your product to main city. Moving on to what to consider before choosing your poultry farm location, which I believe will really help you. I want you to consider this. Do not have your poultry farm, especially if you intend to have 50,000, 100,000 in residential area. As you can see, you don't have large scale farm in residential area, for example, in your estates. No, you want to avoid that because poultry naturally emit offensive odor. So you want to really avoid that. So you're going to get this material, so you'll be able to read certain things. So I'm not going to waste my time on this. I also advise that you have your farm in peri-urban area that is very close to a city. I've said that before. Your farm should be at least 15 kilometers to a city. That will reduce your cost of transportation to and fro. So these are just, heads up when you are choosing a location. Moving on to something I highly consider to be necessary. You don't want to rely on water suppliers. No, you want to have your own farm with water, source. So you need to consider the land, whether the land has, good water. There are some land that despite, using drilling machine or borehole or whatever, the water from that land is not actually good. So you want to really consider this when you are considering a location. So ease of getting water is the most important factor to consider when choosing a farmland. You also want to avoid, a place that is, water prone. You don't want swampy and water prone land. Why? Because it's a breeding ground for pathogens. Because it's a breeding ground for pathogens. Pathogens, they strive in these kind of locations, and you don't want that at all. Then even if they gift you a farm around this kind of area, you don't want to have your farm. Any place that you see like this, the road is really, really bad, both dry season and rainy season, you want to avoid it. So a farm location with a terrible road should be avoided, even if the land was gifted to you. I'm going to share a story with you. We have a client who was now in Nigeria. He gave money to someone to purchase land, and they went into one bush and purchased land. And the road was really, really terrible. By the time he came back, they already built the penthouse and there was nothing he could do. So he decided to manage the farm. The farm happens to be 19,000 capacity layer farm. He managed to run the farm for 2 production cycles. He had to abandon that farm this year. Why? Because the road was so terrible. He bought a lot of vehicles to evacuate the eggs, and they keep on breaking down, and getting people to that place to buy eggs was really, really difficult. So you want to avoid a place like this. It's always better to buy a land where you can easily, even if the place is far, as long as the road is accessible in all season, you are good to go. Moving on to proximity to poultry farming input. This is not really, really, important consideration, but you can consider this, but it's not important. You can decide to import poultry farming input from far places. As long as you have the money, there's no big deal. Then where you can buy cheap land, I always advise people, do this. Get your land where you can get your farmland where you can get the land at a cheaper rate. You don't want to buy, a farmland where they are selling the land for $2,000, per plot. You want to go to where you can buy the land like $500 dollars, per plot, or even less. Why? Because you want a situation whereby you can buy a lot of land to enable you to expand in the future. And then, of course, the land we appreciate in the future as well. So this is so, so important. So another thing you need to do is to carry out the cost estimate. So we are going to do this for you free of charge. So if you want to start commercial poultry farming, if they carried out bill of quantity for you in the past, I can assure you that that bill of quantity will now be attainable again. So you need to carry out another bill of quantity. So we are going to carry out another bill of quantity for you free of charge, just so you have an idea of the amount it's going to cost you to have that farm capacity you intend to have. So you can start small, but don't remain small. So that is what we advise people on. You can start commercial poultry farming small, but do not remain small, grow big. You can start with 2,000 and so on, or 500, but do not remain small, grow big. So today is actually for the foundation class, and I would like to take questions from us. If you have questions, I would like to get questions from you if you have questions. Are we still in class, please?
Okay. Hi, this is Mr.
I am
Deji.
here at the beginning, so I missed the part.
Hello?
Hello, Mr. Deji, I can hear you.
Yeah, so I actually posted a question earlier on when you were talking about the fact that there's a lot of demand for poultry product. And I was just wondering whether you know in real terms, and if you can provide us with, the gap, the volume of the gap in either numbers or in Naira numbers for eggs and chicken in maybe Lagos or in the environs. Like, what's the gap in terms of number of eggs and chicken that's required that is still existing in that region.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. When it comes to the gap, the supply gap, to be honest with you, I can't really tell you an accurate something because I need to carry out, the research for me to be able to come up with, a figure. But right now, I would say the gap for Lagos State, for example, the gap for Lagos State has about 20 million population. However, due to the economy, we just have about, let's say, half of the population consuming eggs per day, or even less, consuming eggs per day. So in terms of gap, focusing on, let's say, the number of chickens being produced in Lagos per day. To be honest with you, the number has really gone down because small scale poultry farmers or egg producers are not in business again because they cannot cope. So only large scale poultry farmers are in business. People with 1,000 and above are in business, or 500 and above that are still in business. So to be honest, I would say let's say we need 5 million pieces of eggs that needs to be produced every day that have now been met. And right now we have massive egg scarcity, and also it's going to be really massive as students or pupils resume school. So right now there's massive egg demand, but in terms of gap, honestly, I would say 5 million pieces of eggs per day to meet the demand. But I can't beat my chest to say the figures are correct. When it comes to the broilers, the meat, in Lagos State, for example, the demand is usually not that high compared to eggs because of the importation. There's still some group of people who are still smuggling chickens into the country. However, I don't think they have a free ride like before because of the exchange rate and because most people are now interested in buying from farmers. So in terms of the gap there, uh, how many tons can I say? To be honest, I can't really say the exact one. So I'm going to carry out this assignment and be able to get back to you before the end of the training. At least a range you can work with, but we don't really have that information, accurate information. I can only use demand data and then try to interpolate it and see what the gap could be.
Thank you. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, Mr. Innocent, my question is this. Are you listening to me? Are you hearing me?
Hello, Mr. Humar.
Yeah, yes. Good evening once again. At the beginning, at the beginning, in encouraging participants, you mentioned that it's a lucrative business, and at the end of a complete production cycle, one should be able to recoup his investments. And I saw that for the layers, it's about 700 days. I don't know the days or so, 120 for laying and about 700 days laying. I don't know the interpretation. Then the broilers, I saw 30 days, 45 days. So I want to know, please, typically for layers, what is a typical production cycle period?
For layers?
Is it the 700 days?
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
for layers, yes.
Okay, for layers, in cycle, we usually use 100 weeks. So 100 weeks, yes, 100 weeks. For example, if you are raising the chickens yourself from day old to 100 weeks old, we expect you to sell the birds. So give and take, if you buy, for example, point of lay, or you raise your birds to 18 weeks old and they commence egg production at 18 weeks old, we expect you to keep the bird for 1.5 years or
Okay.
close to 2 years. Afterwards, you can sell them. Of course, they can lay beyond 2 years. However, the production tends to nosedive after 70 weeks old. The production will now be that much. And we have a goal, we have production goal or target. If one hen can produce 330 eggs for you, that hen has done an amazing job and you can sell that particular chicken. So that is about 11 crates. If one hen or one layer can give you 11 crates of eggs, then you can sell, the chickens. We have clients who keep their chickens for more than 2 years. The chickens was giving them, after 100 weeks old, the chicken was still giving them 70, 69% daily production. And the farmer said, as long as they are, feeding themselves and is getting something, he would keep them for more months until they cannot feed themselves. So some farmers, even after 100 weeks old or after 1.5 years, if the chickens are doing well, they keep them. If they are still producing and they are still feeding themselves, they keep them. But in commercial poultry farming that we do, we advise that once the chickens reach, let's say, 72% production or 70% production, and they are age, they are beyond 80 weeks old, you can sell them because they have given you, everything or most of the egg they are supposed to give you. And they will keep on eating and they are not in their prime. So they are just eating. So why do you want to keep them just to be eating and then give you fewer eggs? For example, if they used to give you like 100 crates per day, for example, now after 80 weeks or 70 weeks, they will be giving you about 70 out of 100, 70. So you are feeding them the same medication, the same feed, and so on, but they are giving you, lower number of crates. So it's not justifiable. Keeping them is not justifiable. Business-wise, it's not economical, so you have to sell them. I hope I was able to answer your question. Then when it comes to broilers,
Yes.
when it
You
comes
have done such an answer, but I still have a further question. You see,
okay,
still on that, when you talk about 70% or 72 weeks, 100 weeks is about, 100 weeks is 2 years minus just 4 weeks.
sorry,
So as 100 weeks is 2
yes,
years minus 4 weeks.
okay,
Which means if you're doing something, it means you're keeping them if you're waiting for, if the cycle is going to be 100 years, 100 weeks, it means you're keeping them for almost 2 years. And
yes,
now, if their peak production will start declining after 72 weeks, I don't know. I'm just trying to see how to the economics. But maybe when we go deeper into the figures, we'll now see, because if a cycle is going to up to 100 weeks,
yes,
and then 100 weeks is almost 2 years, and then you start noticing a decline after 72 weeks, then we have to do the math, whether at the end of the day you are really going to make the profit as you're saying, or it's going to a little bit tight, because I know that that the feed keeps on, because of our economy, the value keeps on increasing every day. If you buy a feed 1,000 naira now, by the time you go next week, they'll tell you 1,350, another week 1,005, So the feed keeps going up and the production is coming down. So that balance, I don't know. But maybe as we go deeper into some of the figures, then we will now I'll get a further clarification on it. Right now, I'm just thinking of the economics when you say when one is looking at the prospect and at the same time looking at some of these realities that it has to take you 2 years for a cycle to complete, and then from 70 weeks, which is less than 2 years, you start having a decline in production, and then the cost in some of these items. So I don't know how to balance it, but maybe, like I said, along the line, we'll start doing the figures. One can do the maths and see. But thank you so much. I have a very good idea of what a complete production cycle is now.
Okay, great. So I actually understood your point. When it comes to egg production, we use what we call hen-house calculation. The hen-house calculation and the ND calculation will actually give us an idea of the number of eggs we are to expect. So it's not just about, okay, their decline in daily production. It's about what they are able to produce within a given time. It's not just about keeping them for 2 years or no. As I said, you can keep them for 80 weeks or 100 weeks and so on, as long as they are doing well and as long as, you are able to get, the number of crates you're supposed to get from your flock, you are good to go. You can sell and sell it and restock and start all over again really, really fast, because it's not just about keeping them for a very long time. It's about what they can give you within a short time, and then you continue immediately again. So when it comes to the number of eggs and then relating that to their age, we don't think that way. We use the ND, the cumulative. As we move on, you are going to see the cumulative eggs or number of eggs we expect from one chickens. We are also going to carry out what we call cost benefit analysis. For example, we are going to use, let's say, 1,000. This is the amount we are going to spend. This is the cost, and then this is the payback period. So if you have, let's say, 1,000 bots, for example, your bots can do up to 88%, 90%, 92, 93, depends on your system and the quality of feed. But when we are doing calculation, we use 75%, and that 75%, we use it for 1.5 years laying period. And if you do that calculation, you actually have idea of the profit you are going to get. But I can assure you that despite the fact that the feed price keeps increasing, egg production or poultry farming, especially egg production, is still lucrative. As someone just replied to a message today on our platform, buttressing my point that poultry farming is lucrative. If I start telling you figures from our own side, you will be amazed. So you don't look at what people are saying, oh, feed costs keep on increasing. Of course, we are also selling the eggs at higher rate, and customers kind of understand these days. When you tell them egg price is like this, in fact, before they come these days, they will say, how much is a crate of eggs now? How much is egg now? You now tell them, oh, it's no longer 4,300, it's now 4,500. Price has changed. If they are coming next week, they will also call you because they know that every week we keep on changing. So don't worry, once we get to the cost benefit analysis, which is the poultry maths and poultry accounting, you're going to see all of these things, including the broilers and the layers.
Thank you.
Hello, Mr. Innocent. I would like to ask a question.
Okay, please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to just try to confirm about the size of land, because you said we should make room for expansion, and that is the smart thing to do. And I actually agree with you on that. But can you give to put into perspective, for someone that wants to start with a 3,000 layer capacity, what size will you recommend, in acres or in feet? What size will you actually recommend for that capacity?
Okay. So for 3,000 capacity, I recommend you have 1.5 plots. If you have 1.5 plot, you are good to go. In fact, one plot can get you 3,000 capacity if you are using the battery cage housing system. So if to be on a safer side, you can just get 1.5 plot, but one plot can actually house 3,000 capacity.
Okay, just to make sure, because the plots actually measured differently in some places. The one
Okay.
plot, is it like 100 feet by 100 feet or 100 feet by 50 feet or
It's 120 feet by 60. 120
150?
feet by, yes, by 60. And now
Okay,
let me tell you the area your 3,000 capacity will occupy in meters. If you want to build a 3,000 capacity poultry farm, you're going to have the length. The length would be 35 meters. Are you with me?
yes, I'm with you.
Length will be 35 meters long. The
Okay,
penthouse itself, then the wideness, it will be 8 meters wide.
okay,
Yes, as you can see, even one plot can fit into 3,000 capacity can fit into one plot. However, you need to also add a brooding house. You
come
also
again.
you need to add brooding house.
Okay,
Yes,
okay,
you need to add brooding house. Another thing you also need to factor into it is uh, staff quarters. Again, to have staff
okay,
quarters. But when we build pen houses, we incorporate staff quarter. For example, one, your pen house can be managed by two staff. The pen managers can be two or three. So you can
okay,
decide to incorporate that into the pen house, or you build just 3 rooms separately, just like a farmhouse for them. So if you incorporate that into the land requirement or the land size requirement, you need about 1.5 plots.
okay, okay, okay. I
I
also
have a
want,
question. I have a
sorry,
question.
sorry, please, I wasn't done, please. Just give me a minute, please. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I can hear
Yeah,
you.
yeah. I also want to ask you about security. Because you said it's better if the land is far away, like just a bit far away from a residential area. But does that not like pose like it makes it risky for thieves and other security measures or something?
Okay, so when it comes to security, of course, you have to have, let's say, a security guy that will be sleeping on your farm. And of course, uh, I can tell you that most of the farms that I know, they don't have like security challenges like that. So if you construct your pen house, or your farm, if you have your farm where there are no security issues, of
Yeah.
course, you won't have issue of kidnapping and so on. In fact, they will not even steal. There is a farm that I think I visited about 2 days ago or 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Nobody lives on that farm. They kept their things, and I asked. They said they don't steal here. So
Wow.
yes, they kept their stuff. I was really shocked. I asked why. They said they don't steal here. So depends
So it
on.
all boils down to the location.
Yes, yes, yes. It boils down to the location. And another thing you can do is by having a fence. If you have a fence, of course, fence will increase your startup cost, which I do not recommend, especially if you are starting small. You can use wire and so on. And so I don't really recommend that for people that are just starting, especially if you do not have the fund. I would, advise that you use that money to get more boards on your farm to generate
Yeah.
more, then he still needs to do all those things.
Yeah.
Provided the place is secured and the
Secure.
security level is not that a big deal. Another thing you can do in terms of security, you can employ one person. This is your job. You install, solar powered security light, just
Yeah.
place
Yeah.
it so that during the night it will illuminate the whole area.
Area. Yeah.
And yeah, the security guy will be awake. His job is just to secure the place at night. And so with that, it will discourage people, even if that place is a very tough area, from coming to that place because they know that someone is always there. You can also install CCTV cameras, solar powered ones, night vision, and so on. And then you'll
Yeah.
be able to know what is happening.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello.
Queenie wanna ask question? Please go ahead.
Good evening. Two things I wanted to ask. The first one was, why do you need a brooding room if you are having a layer pen? That's the first question. Then the second one, I can't remember, but I want at least start with that one. Maybe while you're talking, I remember the second one.
Okay. Thank you so much for that question. So when it comes to layer farming, you need to have a brooding house or what we call a brooder. But it depends on,
Hello.
I can hear you. I can hear you. So when it comes to egg production, if you intend to brood your chickens, you need to have a brooder house, especially if you are raising your chickens in battery cage housing system, or if you adopt battery cage housing system. Because during the brooding, you cannot brood your chicken inside the adult cage because they are small, they cannot access the nipple, and they cannot also access the feed because the cage is for adult. But if you are raising your chickens on the floor, once we get to layers production and management, you are going to see some of these things. So if you are raising your chickens using what we call the deep litter housing system, you are going to brood them in the same pen house. They are going to grow in the same pen house. And when they clock 18 weeks old, you can install nest boxes and they will be able to lay the eggs, inside the nest boxes. So you are maintaining one house throughout the production cycle. However,
but that is when you intend to brood. But in a case where you're dealing but when you're dealing with point of lay and you're bringing in birds already straight to the adult cage, then what do you need the brooding space for? Is it for quarantine? That's what I wanted to find out, because for me, I'm doing point of lay. I'm not interested in hatching or brooding or looking after any babies. I bring them in already ready to go to the cage.
Okay, great. So if you are going for point of lay, then you don't need to have a brooder house. So those people buying point of lay, they don't need a brooder house. They will buy the point of lay and transfer into the battery cage. So you don't need a brooder house. So a brooder house is not compulsory for you because you are not brooding your chicks. The reason why you need a brooder house is because you are brooding the chicks there and you allow them to grow until they get to 14 weeks old or 16 weeks old before you transfer them into the adult battery cage. So if you are buying point of lay and anyone buying point of lay, you don't need a brooder. So it's one of the advantages of buying point of lay. So buying point of lay automatically reduce your startup cost, because if you are using battery cage and you are now buying point of lay, you are going to have two pen houses, one for brooding and one for the battery cage housing system. And so if you are buying point of lay, it reduces your startup cost. So you don't need a brooder if you're buying point of lay. I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes, you've answered it perfectly. I still can't remember the second question, but it's fine.
Okay, no problem. We still have a lot of time together. Okay, so
okay, hello.
If I want to ask question, please go ahead.
Hello. When you were talking about the brooding house, I don't think you mentioned the size as you did with the battery cage.
So when it comes to the size, it depends on the number of chickens you are brooding. This is just the foundation. We have not started the main thing. So once we get to the brooding aspect, you are going to see how we carry out calculation. For example, if you are raising your birds on deep litter housing system, we're going to carry out calculation. You have a space, a given space. We're going to do some calculations and you're going to see it. For example, you have a space measuring 10 meters long or 12 meters long or 11 meters long and let's say 7 meters wide. How many chickens would that space, accommodate? We're going to carry out the calculation. During the brooding phase, how many chickens can it accommodate? Growing phase, how many chickens can it accommodate? Then the laying phase, how many chickens can it accommodate? We're going to carry out the calculation. So don't worry, as we move on, you are going to see how we go about it. Okay, Mrs. Rose, you can go ahead. So I'm going to call us Farmer Rose. I'm going to call us with a title. Farmer Rose, please, can we have you, please?
Okay, thank you. Good evening, sir. Hello.
Hello, please go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation, sir. Though you have already answered one of the questions I want to ask about the brooding stuff when you're answering the question. But another thing I want to ask is, what can you advise? I started my farm like 4 years back. Like the woman said, I always buy point of lay to the cage. But right now, I'm in that phase that I want to start brooding by myself. So what can you advise? Is it advisable to go into that? Or because when you are talking about the niche, you mentioned something that the profit margin on raising point of lay is low. So now, can you advise me to go into that or just to continue with the point of lay? Thank you. That's my question.
Okay, so I would like to summarize your question. You want to know whether you should go for point of lay or brooding them from bayhood and then transfer them to your battery cage. Is that correct? You want to know
Yes.
that you should grow them yourself or you should buy point of lay?
Yes.
Okay. So to be honest with you, we have all these, frequently asked questions ahead of us in the training where I actually discuss the advantages and disadvantages. So there are advantages when it comes to buying point of lay. There are disadvantages as well associated with it. And there are also advantages that has to do with brooding your own pullets from dayhood to transfer H. So when it comes to these two options, usually I ask people these simple questions. If you want to brood your chickens, do you have the money to build a separate pen house? If the answer is yes, I have the money. That is number one. Can you wait for 4.5 months or 5 months before you see the first eggs? If the answer is yes, we proceed. Do you have, the necessary people around you to carry out the vaccination? For example, when you want to carry out injection vaccination, do you have, vet or paravet around you that can carry out those vaccinations for you? If the answer is yes, fantastic. You can go straight. I would advise that you brood your chickens. The advantage of brooding your chickens yourself is that the chickens are already on your farm and they are used to your environment. That is number one. Secondly, you are not paying for delivery. That is to say, you are not paying for delivery costs. Delivery costs can be as high as 400 per bird, depends on your location. And if you are around a grower or a point of lay grower, it can be as low as 150 or 200 naira. So if you are brooding your chickens on your farm, automatically you save money on that transportation. Another good thing about brooding your own birds is that you can decide to monitor the body weight target. As we move on during brooding and pullet management, there's what we call what's it called, the body weight. So during brooding, you can decide to manage the body weight, and then you can increase the feed intake to meet the body weight target. However, if you're buying point of lay, unless you have a reliable source like Poultry Care and other good source, the weight may not be the exact weight. Another thing again is if you buy point of lay, due to delivery stress, they are going to lose weight. So it will take about a week for them to regain that weight loss. So as you can see, it has advantages and disadvantages. Another good thing about buying point of lay, for example, it saves you the stress of carrying out a series of vaccinations and then chickens dying. Yeah, of course, even if you're a professional and maybe your vaccination failed, or you do not do it well, or due to ignorance, you can lose up to 50% of your initial stock. But if you buy point of lay, that saves you from that, loss. So buying point of lay, it reduces your risk because it's a risk. From dayhood to the point of lay is a risk. So if you're buying point of lay, automatically you have escaped the other, so many risks from dayhood and so on. So it reduces your risk. However, as I said, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. I hope I was able to answer your questions. As we move on in this training, you are going to see the main advantages as we move on.
Okay, thank you so
Rose,
much.
I hope it's well understood.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. So which one are you going for? Which one are you going for based on the advantages and disadvantages?
Yes, I really understand what you just said right now, but I think I would like to go the brooding now.
The brooding, okay.
And with the help of Poultry Care, as mentioned, so I don't mind to do that with you guys. So
absolutely. If you intend to brood, you don't have any issue at all. We're going to guide you step by step.
even to construct the brooding pen itself.
Okay.
Yeah, because I would like to go with cage rearing.
Okay.
So for the
Fantastic.
brooding.
Fantastic. So that is fine since you can wait for 4.5 months or 5
I have a
months.
question.
You have the resources. Fantastic. You can actually brood your chickens yourself. Please go ahead, Farmer Jeff. Please go ahead.
No,
It's your
I raised
turn.
my hand. I raised my hand. I raised my hand. I raised my hand. I've raised my hand.
It will get to your turn. It will get to your turn.
I raised my hand before even the person that is saying she has a question. I raised my hand.
Oh, okay. Please go ahead.
The second question I wanted to ask, between 600 to 1,000 birds, how many staff should one have for a year pen?
Okay. I would like to ask if this pen house or your farming system is deep litter or battery cage housing system.
The battery cage. So between 600 to 1,000 birds, how many staff should one have?
You need just a staff to manage that farm. You need a staff, just one staff to manage that farm. One staff suffice to manage your farm capacity. Because it's not a deep litter housing system. Even if it is deep litter housing system, one person should be able to manage 1,000 capacity. In fact, we have a client in Port Harcourt. We design and construct that pen house, 3,000 capacity. It was one staff that was managing it. The farmer wanted to get 2 staff to manage the farm, but the worker said he can manage it. and then the farmer paid him, I think, twice his normal salary for 2 people, or he added something and so on. So if 3,000 birds could be managed by one person, as you can see, 600 to 1,000 can be easily managed by one person.
So what would be the remuneration for one staff then that is adequate?
It's based on the minimum wage. We at Poultry Care, we don't pay anybody less than the minimum wage. So the minimum wage is 70,000. And that is the minimum amount we advise farmers to pay their workers. Unless, the place is a remote area and cost of living is not that high. Why do we pay staff really, really well? We pay them really well so that they don't steal. We pay them really, really well so that they can take care of the birds. And we also discover that if they are to feed, every day they are eating, let's say, 2 square meal. It's going to cost them like 2,000 naira to be able to, they are managing 2,000 naira per day. So if you do that, 2,000 multiplied by 30 days, that is about 60,000 naira. So they will be left with 10,000 naira, and most of them, they have families. So you have to pay them. In fact, the least person is 100,000 annual salary. So you have to pay them for them to deliver, and then you have issue with stealing. But that does not mean that some bad ones will not steal. So depends on your situation, depends on your area. But we advise that you pay your staff at least 70,000.
Thank
Can
you.
I ask my question now?
Yes,
Right.
from Jeff, you can go ahead.
Yes. Thank you. So I have two questions. When it comes to the point of lay, my only concern has to do with in terms of vaccination. How sure am I going to be if those chickens are vaccinated, if gone through the right vaccination up to the point where I am receiving them? And secondly, my farm is going to be in Ghana. In terms of poultry feed, do Poultry Care provide or supply poultry feeds places like Ghana?
Thank you so much, Farmer Jeff, for that question.
I think it's for you.
Farmer Patience, please, you are making a noise.
It's for you.
Okay, Farmer Jeff, based on your question, when it comes to vaccination, it depends on the supplier. Depends on the supplier. I can only speak for Poultry Care. We ensure we give the necessary vaccine to our point of lay. The reason is not far-fetched. You can be in point of lay business if you do not have repeat businesses. And so we do everything possible to ensure we give, the necessary vaccination so that when people, receive our birds, they will not have issue and they will come back and then refer people. Another thing again that you need to consider is this. If you are buying point of lay, you need to buy point of lay from reputable organizations. You don't need to buy from Poultry Care. You can buy from other sources, but you need to ensure that they give you the necessary support and they do the right things. And based on my experience, some poultry farmers or point of lay growers, they tend to skip some vaccinations. And then, but some of these vaccinations do not really have like effect like that on the birds, because your birds can actually do well without giving them a lot of vaccination or without vaccinating them that much. But there are some diseases that you need to vaccinate your birds, against. For example, you need to give your birds the necessary vaccines such as coryza. You need to also carry out Newcastle disease vaccination. We have different strains, Komorov strain, which is prevalent in West Africa. You also need to give them the fowl pox vaccinations and so on. So we have an egg drop syndrome or egg disease syndrome. So we have about 5 up to 6, or depends on the region, up to 10 major vaccines we give to birds, especially pullets, so that they can build strong, disease resistance. So if your farm is in Ghana, we have reliable sources you can get that we can recommend you get your birds from. We cannot send point of lay from here to Ghana. However, our poultry farm in Ghana for point of lay production, and we'll be ready next year. If your farm will start next year, then I can give you this assurance that you can have birds directly from poultry care farm in Ghana. However, if you are starting really fast, we have people that we trust and we have given supply to, and we do not have issue with. So you don't have issue concerning that, getting quality birds in Ghana, even if you do not get directly from poultry care. We have partners and people that we have worked with over the years that we can beat our chest that we do the right thing.
Thank you.
Okay, from our promise, I would like to get a response from you. I would like to get your questions rather.
Okay,
Hello.
my question, sir.
Okay,
Can I ask
please go ahead, please.
Okay, I want to ask if there is any difference between layer and Noella. If they are different, the difference, and which one is more easier to brood?
Thank you for the question. We are going to cover dual purpose chickens during brooding and the management of dual purpose chickens. The Noilas, they are rugged, they are glorified village chickens. So they tend to, do well with rough management and so on. So their survival rate is higher compared to the hybrid ones, the Isa brand and the Highland brand and so on. So the Noila is a good breed. However, if you are interested in commercial egg production, they are not good for commercial egg production. They don't perform well because they are dual purpose. You see female and male among them, and so you don't get the best out of them. Secondly, they are just improved village chickens. So they don't lay the way the hybrid chickens lay. So if you are serious about egg production, I advise you go for the hybrid chickens. As we move on tomorrow, you're going to see the breeds available and what we recommend. So I hope I was able to answer your question.
Yes.
Okay. Please go ahead. You have a question. Please go ahead.
Hello. Good evening.
Good evening from our promise.
Okay, so with regards to the land, I just wanted to be clear. Please, what is the estimate in meter square for, let's say, one plot? Because I don't know how it varies, because it varies in different places. So I just wanted to be clear on that.
Okay, it depends on your location. For example, in Lagos State, a plot of land is 120 feet by 60. Other places is 100 by 100, and other places is 100 by 50. So it depends on your area. May I know your area, please? Then I'll be able to calculate.
Okay. I'm not from Nigeria, so that's why I was curious. I'm from Cameroon, and I was really curious, like, with regard to how you guys do the variations, because I don't know, it might be different. So I just clear on that.
Okay. So I would like you to do me a favor, maybe tomorrow, or you can send a message to the group. Let me know or ask the length and the width of a standard plot of land in Cameroon, and I'll be able to tell you the exact number of chickens it can accommodate, both for deep litter housing system and battery cage housing system. But let us assume you are using 100 by 100, which is somehow common. If you're using 100 by 100, for example, 100 feet by 100 feet. So 100 divided by 3, that's about, let's say, 33 or 32 meters long, and then 33 meters wide. That is 100 by 100. So as you can see, with this, that space can easily accommodate even up to 6,000 capacity, based on the 6,000 capacity, because it's 100 feet by 100 feet, 30 meters wide, 30 meters long. However, in Nigeria, it's not so. For example, in Lagos, you can get some land 120 feet by 60 feet. If we are to do that, 120 divided by 3, for example, that is about 40 meters long. Then the wideness, 60 divided by 3, that is about, you're going to get about 20 meters, wide. Based on this, I can have 3,000 capacity on one plot on one side, that is 35 meters long for 3,000 capacity, 35 meters long. And then the meters is actually, the wideness is 20 meters wide. So if I carve out 8 meters from that 20, I will have about 18, but I need to give space. So I can decide to squeeze in about 1,000 or 2,000. But standard wise, you can have 3,000 because you need to give space for that structures as well. So one plot can do 3,000 conveniently in Lagos State, Nigeria. So please give me the standard dimension in your country, and then I will be able to carry out the calculation and even do the sectioning for you to guide you.
Okay, thank you. So in my area, a plot, we are looking at 30 meters by 20 meters. It depends on the area. That's it can give you a total of like 600 square meters.
Okay.
For a decent size.
Okay.
Let's say from 500 to 600 square meters. So if I were to ask a plot of like 550 to 600 square meters, what could be the capacity if I were to do like if I wanted to do a layer farm, what would be like the estimate?
Okay. Is it deep litter or battery cage?
Oh, battery cage, battery.
Okay. Based on this value you gave me, 30 meters long and 20 meters wide. Is that correct?
Yes.
So if you are having 30 meters long and then 20 meters wide, so we need to have a setback of, let's say, 3 meters between the fence and the start of the pen house. So if we take 3 meters at the back, 3 meters at the front, you're going to have 26. If you have 26 in the middle, for example, this 26, and we construct just a pen house. If we construct just a pen house and you are using a battery cage of 120 watts per unit, it can take 26 units. It can take 26 units. So if it is taking 26 units, if you multiply 26 units by 120, 26 by 120, it will give you 3,120 chickens. Are you with me, please?
Yes, I'm with you.
So it will give you 3,120 chickens. Now, remember, it is 20 meters wide. So we are going to take 3 meters setback on the left, 3 meters setback on the right. We are going to have 14 meters in the center. So from these 40 meters, we are going to take 8 meters from it for the width of the penthouse itself. So if you do that, you're going to have just 6 meters remaining. So there are 6 meters, that is to say 6 meters wide and then 26 meters long. So with this, if you intend to put another, let's say 1 row design there, it can take about 1,500 chickens, just 1 row, 1,500. That means your farm can take 4,620 birds. Your farm can take 4,620 birds. However, you will not have another structure on it, for example, staff quarters, because we have utilized all the space for the pen house. For us to have another space, you need to just, leave it at this 1,020 capacity. Then the remaining space, you can use it for staff quarters and other small things or other small structures you want to have on it. So based on your farm capacity or your land size, conveniently, it can accommodate 3,120 chickens using the battery cage housing system. I hope I was able to
Thank you.
answer
Thank
your
you very
question,
much.
and I can actually calculate it and session it, and send to you using documents or any other means, just for you to have an idea. I will just draw it for you to see, to guide you.
Okay, that would be awesome. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So if you have questions, I would like you to go ahead. Okay, so I assume that we do not have any question. I would like to thank you for still being in class. I would like to remind you that today is just introduction class. We have not started poultry farming training at all. We just expose you to the poultry farming niches you can start, and then introduce you to the common terms we use. Tomorrow is our main class, and I strongly believe that we're going to learn a lot of things, and it's going to be more interesting than this. So thank you so much for being in class, and I look forward to seeing you early in class tomorrow. Do enjoy the rest of the day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night. See you tomorrow.
All right. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Good night. Tomorrow.